Hey, this is MJ, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make our Cuddle Cables beanie. This beanie I have added 2 pom-poms and it has a beautiful post and cable stitch. It's a 4-stitch cable that's going to be using front post double crochets, and then we have front post double crochets in between our cable stitch pattern as we work around. The pattern will be worked from the top down, and we're going to finish with a join as you go ribbed fold over band. I've attached some fun little labels to the hats, and the yarn that I'm using is Mellowspun DK from Mary Maxim. It's a nice soft and light hat, so even though we are working up this really thick stitch, so even though it's DK, it's going to be a nice warm and cozy hat for the winter months. You'll need 2 hook sizes for this pattern, so I'm going to use a 4.5 millimeter and a 5 millimeter crochet hook. These are also from Mary Maxim, and also I'm using faux fur pom-poms that I purchased from Amazon, and this is the 4.3 inch size, but I'll have all of these items linked in the description box below the video. So I'll be working with the color buff for this tutorial, and we're going to get started with the larger hook working from the top down on the hat. So we're going to begin with a magic ring. Take your hook, slide it through all 3 loops, pulling the first through, and we'll chain 1 to secure that loop. Now we're going to work a total of 10 half double crochets in the ring. So to do our half double crochet, we're yarning over, going through the ring, pulling through all 3. So I'm going to work around my 10 stitches. So once you have your 10 stitches, we're going to just pull our tail. And you're going to see that only 1 loop starts to pull in. Grab that loop that's been pulling in and then just take it. That will just pull the other loop tight. So we'll make sure that the top of the hat is nice and tight, and then this will not come loose. It'll keep it nice and secure. So now what we'll do is slip stitch in the top of our first half double crochet to join. So we're going under both of the loops, and we'll chain 1. Now we're going to start into working our front post double crochet stitches. So to do a front post double crochet, we're going to yarn over, and we're coming down around the stitch. So we're going around the post. So we're yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we have to go around the same stitch again because we're doubling up this round. So we're going from 10 to 20 stitches and yarn over. We're going to find the next. Post. And we need to work 2 front post double crochets. So we're doing that for each stitch around. And it's always important to count to make sure you're on track with your stitch count. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. I have a total of 20 stitches now. And I'm going to slip stitch again into the top of my stitch, which is my first front post double crochet. Chain 1. Now what we're going to do is increase another 10 stitches, and to do that we need to increase every other stitch. So we'll do a front post double crochet in the first stitch, and then we'll do 2 in the next stitch. And that stitch is going to pop up a little bit more. It's going to be easy to identify. So we'll do 2, And then you can see here, we'll do 1 and then 2, 1 and then 2, all the way around. So we increase from 20 to 30 stitches. So 1 and then 2 front post double crochets around the next. And it is a good idea that you are familiar with this stitch in order to do this pattern. And I'm going to complete this round now working front post double crochets into every stitch around. Okay, I've worked all the way around. I'm going to slip stitch into the first front post double crochet to join and chain 1. And that chain 1 is not included as a stitch. I just thought I should make sure I mention that. So now we're going to go up another 10 stitches, and in order to do that, we're increasing every third stitch now. And if we look at how the stitches are increased again, it's going to be that post that's popping up a little bit more. So it does help us identify it as we work around. So we'll do a front post double crochet in our first 2 stitches. And then we will do 2 in the next stitch, or on the next stitch. Okay, and then we'll repeat that. So 1 front post double crochet, next 2, and then 2 in the next. So we'll go from 30 to 40 stitches for this round. Okay, so I've completed that round. I'm going to slip stitch to join. Now, because I'm working on one of our smaller hats, you're going to notice that this is looking a little bit better than if you're working on a larger hat. And how this pattern works is we start with different numbers of stitches within that first round. So as we go up in size, we're adding 1 additional stitch into that round. So we're doing 10 for this size hat. The next size would be 11. The next size would be 12, the next size would be 13, and so on. So what happens with those larger size hats is it's not going to look as flat when you start. I've already started to work into this one a bit more, but you're going to get waving. It's not going to look that great as it starts out, but that's okay, because what will happen as we continue to work non-increase rounds, it's going to smooth it all out, and it's able to get us into our cable pattern quicker than if we were to do an increase and then a non-increase. And I do a little bit of that with some of the larger hats to help it kind of lay a little bit better. But I just wanted to mention that because I know sometimes you'll get started and it will look really weird and you'll be worried that it's not supposed to look like that, but it's completely normal. It's what it's going to look like. But as we do the increase rows, it's going to smooth it right out, and then you get this look ultimately as you continue to work your hat. So it's not going to be as pointy as if we worked with less stitches to start. And as you can see here, we're going to increase and then we're going to hop right into the cable stitch, and we want that to start as soon as possible without doing a big section of increase rows. So because we're working on one of the smaller hats, it's going to look a little bit better to start with, but when we have a lot more stitches that we're increasing, it does tend to get a wavy look to it. So I'm going to chain 1 and we're going to do another increase. We're increasing 6 rounds, so we're going up to 60 stitches. So this round now will increase us to 50, and we will be doubling up that 4th stitch, which again is the stitch that's going to pop up a little bit more. So we'll work a front post double crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then we're doubling up the 4th, working to around that 4th stitch. And we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th is going around that same stitch. Okay, so I'm going to continue to increase around. Okay, so once you've worked all the way around, we're going to slip stitch in our first front post double crochet to join, chain 1, and now we will increase on that 5th stitch, and this will be the last increase round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the 5th we'll do 2. So 5, 6. Okay, so we doubled up that last one, and we're going to repeat that all the way around. So we're increasing 10 more stitches, and we're going to be up to 60 stitches for this hat. Okay, so I've worked my 6 rounds. I'm going to slip stitch to join, and I'm going to show you a little trick to count your rounds. So when you work more of your hat, you can flip it to see how many rows. So the very first row we're going to say is row 1. Then, as you see the ridge here, we're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It obviously pops out more, so your other option would be to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, or start here and go 1, 2, 3, whatever makes sense to your brain. But this way you can kind of keep track as to how many rows you've done, which is going to be important for the next section. So once you've done your 6, we've now increased from 10 all the way up to 60. And now we're going to start into the cable pattern. And the cable pattern is worked in multiples of 6 stitches. We're going to chain 1. We're going to work a front post double crochet in the first stitch and in the next stitch. Okay, so these are our 2 front posts, and then we're going to do the cable. So to do the cable, we're going to skip these 2 stitches. I'm going to work a front post double crochet into the 3rd. So we're skipping 2 into that next, we'll do a front post double crochet, and then in the next we'll do a front post double crochet. Okay, so sometimes for cables we'll do a front post treble, but I'm going to keep this, it is a small cable, I'm going to keep the cable nice and tight, so we're just going to do the front post for them. And then we're going to come back, we're going to go over top of our work. This is what makes this an easier cable. We're not going to be worrying about going in behind the stitches. We're just going to go over top. We're going to do a front post in that first skip stitch. So you can pull your stitches apart. You can come back and see, okay, this is the stitch I need to work around. And then into the next skip stitch. So right here. Then this will be the first repeat. So we've done 4 stitches, 2 front posts, and then a cable. So now we come here to the next repeat. So we'll do a front post double crochet in the next 2, and then we'll do our little cable again. So we'll skip the next 2, front post double crochet in the next 2, and then front post double crochet back in the skipped. And we'll have this stitch abbreviated in the written pattern, so make sure to look under the special stitches for the abbreviated term for this stitch, and then we won't write all of that out for every single row, but this is how you're doing that cable stitch. Okay, so you're just skipping 2, working into the next 2, then working back into the skipped. So really simple cable. And we're going to repeat this now all the way around. And I just want to mention also that can help keep you on track is we know this here, this is our 6 stitches, and that 6th one that we were doubling up on our increase always pops up more. So we know the last part of our cable, I'm just to it right here, is going to be ending on this stitch, and then we're coming back and working these 2. I know sometimes what can be confusing is what stitches we're working into for people. That can throw them off track. So we've worked into that sort of puffed up more stitch, and then we're doing our front post doubles in the next 2. And then when we skip over, see our 4 stitches and see the 4th stitch pops up more, we know that's the last stitch going across in that cable. We skip the 2, go into this one, and then go into that stitch that's puffed up a bit more, and then we're coming back to the 2 we skipped. So that's just a little tip. I look for little details to kind of help keep me on track with what stitch I'm working into, so that might just help you as well as you work around. And once you've worked all the way around, we're going to slip stitch in our first front post double to join, chain 1. And now this round is a little bit easier. We're just working front post double crochets into every stitch around. The only tricky part is getting into the stitches, so the first 2 are easy. Front post double, and then the next 2, you have to kind of pull them out a little bit to work into them. So that's the only thing that's going to slow you down on this round, is you do really need to pull the stitches apart in order to get at them. So we front post in these 2 stitches here that are hidden, and then a front post in the next 2. Okay, so we've gone across there 6 and front post in the front post, and then we get to the cable stitches and you're just having to pull apart a bit to work into them. So I'm going to repeat this around. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. We're slip stitching to join, chain 1, and now we're going to repeat those 2 cable rounds. So we're just going to continue to repeat them. I want for this size a total of 16 rounds. So we have done 8 and we need to do 8 more. So we're gonna just continue with the cable. So let me just go through this repeat one more time with you, and then I'll leave you to work up those rounds, and then we can meet back up. So we have a front post double crochet in the first 2, and now we're going to skip the next 2, work a front post double crochet in the next 2, and then we're going to come back. Sometimes you need to pull it apart a bit to see your stitches, and we're going to grab those skipped ones. So a front post double crochet in the first skipped stitch, and then in the next. And then we'll work front post double crochet in the next 2, and then we'll do the cable skipping the next two. Because we're working all of these post stitches, it does make a nice thick hat. It'll be nice and cozy and warm, and you can see how this pops up and helps us to count those rows on the back side. It's a little trickier to count them on the front, so I find it much easier to just go by this on the back. Okay, so I'm going to continue now. I'm going to work up these rounds off camera, and then we're going to meet back up for the next step. Okay, so I've been working on my hat, and let's just count the rows going from the back side. So I'm going to count the center as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I have my 16 rounds complete. And now we're going to change over to the smaller hook. So it's going to look like this at this point. So with the 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, we're now going to chain 1 and work a single crochet into every stitch. So we're working a total of 60 all the way around. So I've worked all the way around. I'm going to slip stitch in our first single crochet to join. And now we're going to begin our join as you go ribbing. So for this size hat, we're going to chain out a total of 17. Now in the second chain from the hook, we're going to work a single crochet, and we're going to work a single crochet in each chain so that we have a total of 16 stitches. So now once you've worked down your chain, you should have 16 stitches, and if you look really closely here, this first stitch we slip stitched into, this stitch here is going to account for the row that we just worked. So we're going to skip it. It's already been slip stitched into, and we're going to slip stitch into the next two. Now we're going to turn our work, and you can see those slip stitches right there. We're going to skip over those two, and then we're going to work through the back loop only, working a single crochet through the back loop only of each stitch. So this is a total now we'll be working of 16 stitches, and we're going to work 2 rows for those slip stitches that we just worked. So I'm going to go ahead and single crochet through the back loop up this row. Once you get to the end of the row, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then single crochet through the back loop of each stitch back down the row. So a total of 16. So now I've worked down 16 stitches, and let's look really closely again at our stitches. So we can see here that we have a slip stitch in this stitch. So you don't want to go back and slip stitch in that again. We want to go into the next 2. So as you work around the hat, you're going to have the same number of rows worked as we do stitches. So we want 60 rows for 60 stitches. Okay, so slip stitch in 2, we skip the 2 we just made, and then we get back into working single crochets through the back loop. So I'm going to continue working this around the hat, Then we can meet back up to finish it off by slip stitching the band together. Okay, so the hat is going to, this is going to fold, so the hat's going to come down. Nice size for baby, and then we'll add a tag, we'll add our pom-poms, and just finish off the hat. Okay, so once you've worked all of the band, it's going to look like this. It should look smaller than the hat because when you stretch the hat out, as you can see, it's going to go bigger than this section. So you want to make sure that it is smaller. If it's much bigger, then your band is probably too big and you need to go down to a smaller hook size. So it should pull in like this. And you should be ending up at the top. And if you count your ridges around, counting by twos, you should have 60 for this size. So I'm going to chain 1. And then I'm going to go through the back loop, going across to that starting chain and work a slip stitch. Now we're going to go through the back loop of each stitch and going across and joining through each stitch. For a total of 16. So I'm going to continue slip stitching this together. And once you get all the way down, we're going to fasten off. Okay, and you can weave in that tail. Okay, and then flip over the band. So you can see our slip stitch edge goes to the inside once you flip that over. And you can leave your little hat just like this. You can add a customized tag. I have a little MJ tag. I added a heart and a bunny to the other hat. But really whatever you have, whatever type of tag, you can add that. And then I also have some pom-poms that are a similar color. Now you could go with the natural. These are the pom-poms I have that are the natural color. Could go with ones that are similar color to the hat. Really whatever you want. Depending on the color of hat you use, you can choose what color pom-pom that you would like. So now for the tag, I like to just use some embroidery thread and my yarn needle to sew this. So I like to pull through, leaving a tail to the back. And then you are just working through each hole. So I just go through this, and then if you're able to pop back up through the hole, but sometimes I will just poke through and then just push my needle up through the hole. And we're just going to do that all the way around. Okay, so once you get all the way around, you can just knot your tails. Give that a trim. Okay, and then so to add the pom-poms, I like them to the pom-poms to come out to the sides a bit of the hat. So I like to add the little snaps sort of in this area. Now what I also like to do is start sewing them on, but I don't knot them. I then attach the pom-poms to make sure they're in the correct place before I knot. Then if you want to change it, you can without having to cut this off. Okay, so I'm using my yarn needle. This one, it is a little tight to get it through. If you have, you want to make sure that you can get your needle through and just keep weaving through each of the holes all the way around. Now your other option is when you're buying pom-poms, there's ones also that have little buttons and just a loop that go to the inside. And what's nice about that style is that if you want to remove the pom-poms, you have the buttons to the inside so you don't have these pieces. So you can take a look through the different types of pom-poms available, but I have mostly just the snap style on hand, so that's what I'm using for this. Okay, so I haven't knotted this or got rid of my tails or anything. I'm just gonna make sure that I do like the placement. So you're going to find, they also need to be blow dried still. So if you take your pom-poms and blow dry them, they're going to fluff them up really nice. Make them nice and fluffy. So I'm going to attach these ones, but you can always switch out your colors. That's what's nice about the snap style as well. It's really easy to just change out the colors your pom-poms. Okay, so those look perfect. So now that I know I'm happy with where the pom-poms are on the hat, I can, let me just zoom back out a little bit. So I'm happy with where they are, so I'm just going to knot and weave my tails. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell to stay updated on all my new videos and tutorials. Make sure to check the description box below the video for all the links. Thanks so much, guys. Have an awesome day.